Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I'm here with you this morning to help answer any type of cloud computing questions you may actually have. See, I want to help you build the best cloud computing career. Maybe your goal is to become a cloud architect like me, or an enterprise architect like me, or a network architect, or a cloud engineer, or an enterprise architect. Whatever the case may be, I want to help you get cloud hired, and that's why we do everything we do at our team. This week, as you probably know, we've got so many fun and exciting things to help you with your career, and they're basically all free. In case you missed it, it is going to be day 2 this afternoon of the Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp. It's completely free. You can go catch the leftover from yesterday and rewatch it and attend our class and enjoy the rest of the class. We want to help you guys get cloud hired. So the free Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp, the link is in the description below. Now, last night, we had one of my students. He's a very special, fine young man. He came to me, and he came to me with no degrees in tech and no experience in tech, and now he's got himself a fantastic cloud architect career at the world's largest bank, and they are super impressed with him. And he was on our show for 3 hours talking to you last night about why he was hired with no experience and no degrees and how all of you can get hired too. Obviously, he was a student of our program like many of the other people that get hired, but the point is you can all get hired. So please come and see Daniel Bosu's show from last night. It's completely free. Now, at the same time, I want to let you know that on Thursday this week, we're going to have a How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And why are we doing this? We're doing this for the following reason. We're doing this to make sure you know how to get hired, that you actually understand the cloud architect job and you know what's a real cloud architect job description instead of these silly cut and paste things. We want you to know what hiring managers desire so you can get hired, what hiring managers expected to hear at an interview so you can get hired, what you can do to get past HR so nobody says you don't have experience and you can plead your case to the hiring manager and get hired. I want you all cloud hired, or I wouldn't do any of the things that I do. So because of that, go join our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar on Thursday and enjoy us. The link, register, the link is in the description below. Now, if any of you guys are trying to get cloud hired, we temporarily have a 30% off discount. It'll end on Sunday. Coupon code potential, and it works on every single program we have. I know the impact of this massive inflation is really hurting people, and I also know the economy is getting worse. And the better your career skills are, the better your capabilities are, the more the employer likes you. You can still get hired during a recession, and you don't get laid off if you're really good at exactly what the employer wants. So come join us and learn how to build your career in good economic times, in bad economic times. Again, it's completely free, and it'll be on Zoom. So for those people that call me every day and say, can I ask questions? That's your chance. Completely free. We'll present for an hour, and after that, for the last hour, you can ask questions. So join us completely free. So at this point, we come online to help you build your cloud architect career or your cloud engineer career or solution architect career. So do the following. If you've got a question, please put it in the chat box. That's how I know to help you. Otherwise, there's there. So please feel free to pop in any kind of questions you have in the chat box. Before we begin, give me a hashtag cloud hired, because the whole point of training is to get hired. Anybody can do a silly certification, but going from certified to hired, that's special for these jobs, and that's what we do. So feel free to ask some questions, and we'll answer them. And give me a cloud hired at the same time, and then Chris from my team will gradually be taking your questions in, and we'll answer them in a one-at-a-time basis. Shaza, you're keen on enrolling, but you can only start in September. That's totally fine. We have people that are signing up, taking advantage of the discount now, starting in September, October, November. We don't care. People buy to take advantage of the discount, and we're absorbing this 30% discount as long as we can do it, which we're not going to be able to do beyond this week, but we try to do it to really help you guys with a challenging economy. So sign up now and start in September. We're not in a rush. We give you a year once you start training the program to actually stay in the program. We don't take your content away afterwards either, because we want to be a success provider for you. So understand that you can join now and start in September. Totally fine. You can start anytime you want. There are no batches. We train people like you would train doctors and martial artists. We put all the people in the same program, and we do it intentionally. Senior people work with medium people who work with junior people. We've got a network of people. One gets hired, they bring their friends with them. So you can start anytime you want, and there is no rush in our program. We literally let you stay in the classes for up to a year if you need to get hired, and nobody needs a year to get hired. And you can start watching the recordings or the content at your leisure now to get a jump on it, or you can start to do little bits and pieces along the way. Whatever the case is, all we care is that you get hired, and we'll do everything we can in our power to get you hired. Last night, you heard a 21-year-old got hired by the world's largest bank. He's not the only one. Romanik Van Tambo was 24, got hired by AWS, and his last job was a waiter before he got hired by AWS. Jordan Kitco was a college student who just got hired by AWS as a solution architect. And we're talking solution architects in all these cases. There was a Jeffrey West, and he was an amazing guy doing some kind of GIS spatial Earth imaging, and he became a cloud architect too. It happens to my students every day. It doesn't matter what your background is. As long as you're trained right and you do the right things, you will get this job. So you can absolutely. Now, here's the thing. Most of my students are not young. Most of my students are my age. Why do I talk about it occasionally where I talk about young people that manage to get hired? Only for the following reason. People keep saying you can't get jobs unless you got 30 years experience. Nonsense. Anybody with the right training can do it. Look, I left internal medicine and became a senior network engineer as my first job and a lead architect within 6 months because we trained the right thing. And I'd love to help you. I'd love to get you cloud hired. You can sign up on our page anytime. You can access a one-time payment or a payment plan in any of the case, and we'll do everything we can in our power to help you get cloud hired. So, love to see you start in September. We would love to work with you. And the next thing that I hope to see is I hope to see you on a Zoom call. And I hope you're one of my students on the Zoom call and you says, guess what, Mike? I just got hired. You changed my life. That's kind of the thing. That's why we do it. That's why I do what I do. That's what Chris does what he does for those reasons. And right now is the perfect time with the 30% off coupon code. Yes, you can sign up and you can do payment plans. Here's how you do a payment plan. In the box where it says 999, click that box and there'll be a little drop down where it'll say 3x 350. So what you'll do is you'll click purchase, and on the next screen there'll be something that says have a coupon. Where it says have a coupon, apply the coupon code, and of course that coupon will apply to either single time payments or every payment. We wouldn't run a fake coupon for just one payment. Everything we do applies to everything, either a full payment plan or the single course. And Shazia, we'd love to work with you. All I want to see is when you tell me you're cloud hired. That's all I care about. That's my main focus is cloud hired. And my students will tell you that we are totally obsessed with it. Alonzo Coleman, great podcast last night. Yes, it was fun. So please join the podcast last night. Come listen to it and see how people are actually getting hired. Wallace, it's so good to see you. Good afternoon from the other side. Shazia, Daniel Bosu was wonderful. And normally speaking, most of my graduates are more my age. But the thing is, and this is really why we like this so much, is when you can see a 21-year-old that can do it without the life experience, without the degrees, without everything, it shows you that all of us, if we have the right will in our mind, the right motivation in our heart, with the right effort, enthusiasm, and passion, we can all achieve everything. It doesn't matter what yesterday was. Tomorrow's a new day. Today's the present. And we can all get better. And that's why I love bringing in people, especially those that are harder to get hired. Look, if he was 35 and had an MBA, it'd be a lot easier, right? But, we can all do it. And the company is lucky to have someone of his caliber because it's very hard to find people that understand digital transformation. And that's what we do. And that's why we train digital transformation so much. People don't come out looking for architects that are engineers. Engineers are great, but an engineer career and an architect career is about as different than a pilot and a flight attendant. They're both on an airplane, but that's about all they have in common. So it's those kind of things. So yes, thrilled that he was here last night. Thrilled to work with you. Sure, Srivar Shan. So let me tell you about the salary of a cloud engineer. All these cloud salaries are variable. So a cloud engineer average salary is somewhere around that $110,000 to $120,000 range, compared to a cloud architect's job, which is somewhere between the $100,000 to $300,000 range. and they're both good jobs. So the key really is what do you enjoy doing? Now, I'm going to tell you, cloud engineers can have big salary differences too, just like network engineers can. For example, when the average network engineer was earning about $70,000 a year, I was earning $250,000 a year. So why and what's the difference? And here's the key. Engineers, if they just do engineering, meaning standing behind the computer and coding and configuring all day long, the salary is going to be real low, less than that 110, maybe 80 to 110. By comparison, if that cloud engineer trains, communication skills, presentation skills, soft skills, leadership skills, like we train our engineers, executive presence, and CXO relevancy, and, those kind of things, emotional intelligence and business acumen. Now that engineer goes from a coding and configure person that just knows encoding and configures to someone that's a member of the team, a key strategic asset to the organization, someone that can help the architect team solve business problems, someone that can help the leadership thing. And that's where your engineer salaries can go to 200, 250. So it depends on how you want to play your engineer game. If you want to go out there and get yourself 50X certified, expect a salary of 80 to 110. Now, by comparison, if you want to learn technology, how the technology works, how to tune it, how to tweak it, how to make it solve business problems, how to present it and teach it to others, how to lead, your soft skills. Now that engineering salary is 200 or 250. So where do you want to be in your salary? And that determines what you want to do. So some of that has to do with your things and who you are. Like if you just don't like talking to people, realize that's going to have your salary. And that's okay if that's your desire. But, the engineers that we create in our program, and I've got two sets of engineers. I've got my engineers that are chatty Cathys that want to babble, 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 babble. They're going to be my high-paid graduates. And I've got engineers that just love the tech so much, they just sit behind the code. And guess what? They're still going to get hired, but they'll be on the lower end of the pay scale. So there's no hard and fast rules on salary. The impact that you make to your organization is what determines your salary. How valuable you are to the organization. Do you make that company make money, or are you an expense to the company? Are you pleasant to work with? Do you have honesty, integrity, etc.? See, all this stuff can make a $100,000 to $200,000 difference in someone's salary. So when you ask a salary, I don't like going to average ranges because I don't train average. I don't have any average at all ever in my program. And I've never been average. So I'd say average is about that 110 to 120, but you can manipulate all the way that way up to $250,000 if with the right skills, and you can lower it down to the 60 to 80 if you're just techie. So now you know the salary range of a cloud engineer. Now the architect is pretty much a lot more than that, but it's a different skill set. The architect's part of the sales team. So the architect goes to the customer, asks the customer about their business goals, their business pain points, their business challenges. And that architect is interfacing with the executives. And then the architect is going to go bring in a team to baseline the systems, and they're going to design something and lead a team. And that architect is going to go sell it. So the architect will go sell the design, bring the money into the company, and then the cloud engineers build it. And Chris, somehow your microphone's not muted. But somehow along the line, if you've got a building architect that designs the building, that's what the architect does. And think of the engineers as the construction crew that go build that building or build that hotel. So now you know the salary of the engineer, but you also know how to manipulate it up or down based upon the way you want to run your career. That is really the key. Great question. And please, everybody, ask me some questions in the chat box. That's why we're here. I want to help you maximize your career. Okay. I've been trying to get into an essay at AWS. Every time you have a chance to interview, they give me an assignment to design based upon the requirement. Continue part 2. You wonder where you can find more questions, requirements, so you can practice more architecting with AWS. Can you suggest something, please? Pate, absolutely. The reason we created our program is as follows. Even having the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, there is zero in it that's going to help you get hired as a solution architect. I mean, completely zero. And Pate, let me explain to you why. In the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, which in our mind is about 5% of what you need to get hired, what they basically tell you is the name of a service and how to configure that service. So I want to make that clear. Certifications about the name of a service and how to configure that service. Architects don't use those names, and architects don't configure those services. So there's no way that those certifications will ever equate to a job. And that's why we created our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So let me tell you what you need to do and what you need to learn to become a cloud architect. And you can take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, which will get you hired, or you can do the following. And the following advice I'm going to give you is how to do the job without us. Now let's go involve between $25,000 and $50,000 of worth of training without us, and about 25 to 50,000 pages of reading without us. But I'll tell you what it takes to become an architect. So here's the thing, Pate. The architect designs, presents, and sells. Say it with me, everybody. We design, we present, and we sell. So Pate, what we have to do is we have to design systems. Now, what systems do we design? Not cloud stuff. We do network and data center systems. And what does this mean? We take the systems from the network and the data center, and we move it to the cloud, which is another network and data center. So what is the stuff that we move and the stuff that we need to know about? Because it's not covered at all in certifications at all. Certifications are basically worthless for the cloud architect job and the solution architect job. Great for a cloud admin job, which is a junior level implementer for like 20 bucks an hour, but horrible for all professional jobs. So in order to design the stuff which is coming out of the network and moving it to the cloud, what you need to learn is as follows: BGP. And I don't mean configuring it, I mean how to architect it. Now, I got to tell you, I've read about 10,000 pages of BGP documentation, spent over 10,000 hours of BGP just to get that kind of BGP knowledge. And you can get some of that knowledge that you need from the book, Internet Routing Architectures. It's about 50 bucks from Cisco Press. It's from Bassam Halabi. So that'll give you some of the BGP. Now, you also need to know OSPF or how, especially how interior gateway protocols work. Then you will need to understand IP subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation summary with regards to IP addressing as it pertains to traffic engineering and scaling your systems. Again, not covered in even the AWS Advanced Networking. That's not even an intro level to what we're trying to talk about here. So then what we're talking about is Lan Technologies, and you need to understand them all, when to use them and how to use them. Because remember, we design. So what does that mean? That means SSL-based VPNs. It means IPsec-based tunnels. It means serial private lines, Ethernet private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, et cetera, and BGP VPNs. Now, you also need to understand the private lines and all the way they work. You also need to understand software-defined networking and SASE, secure edge, et cetera. So those would be the WAN technologies. Now, we're also going to be dealing with switching, which means you need to learn spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN chunking, things like 802.1q chunking, for example. Now, because we're going to be bundling links, you probably need to know port channel, ether channel, link aggregation protocols on the networking side. You should understand QoS because we can use it from a security perspective. And these are some of the things on the networking side. You also have to have a good understanding of ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP and how to tune these things. That's the networking stuff. Now, that's about 15 to 20,000 pages of reading right there, 10,000 at minimum if you really want to skimp on it. It's all covered in our course, which is 500 hours. Now, the next component that you would need to learn is servers and surgical virtualization. You can get that information from VMware, KVM, and QEMU for about 1,000 pages. Containers and container orchestration, you can get that from VMware again, as well as Docker, as well as Kubernetes and Red Hat OpenShift. Beyond that, what you need to know is as follows. Beyond that, you're going to need to know load balancers and load balancer architectures and when to use network load balancers, application load balancers, when to stack your load balancers, for example, using application and network load balancers together in the same situation. You will need to have real, and you can read 1,000 pages on that if you're not with us from an F5, and you're going to start to understand it. And then when you're done that, what you need to learn is storage, block storage, object storage, and file storage. Good news. About 1,000 pages from Dell, EMC, and IBM, and you'll understand that too. Because you need to architect it, not just configure it. Now you need to know databases, and you have to understand there's 1,000,001 reasons not to use like a DynamoDB or an AWS Aurora or a Cosmos DB or a Google Cloud BigQuery or Bigtable, not because they're not great databases, but because they're proprietary and they preclude multi-cloud, which your customers work. So this means you need to understand the real databases that you can use multi-cloud, which is the Oracle database, it's MongoDB, it's Apache Cassandra, it's MySQL, it's Postgres, MariaDB, etc. How they work. Now, because our job is digital transformation, you need to understand workflows of employees and the types of applications which make businesses more profitable. Supply chain applications, ERP applications, CRM applications, etc., unified communications, etc. Now, that covers the tech piece. Now, you have to understand that this is not a tech job. This is a job which is 50 to 60% executive and 40 to 50% tech. And the tech that we do is never hands-on configure. It's always design. So we have to design, present, and sell. So I told you what goes into the tech. So now you need to learn how the tech works, which is how we design it. And that's why I told you these things, which is the exact opposite of administration, which is how to configure it. Kind of like flying the plane versus handing out the drinks. Completely different job. Now, because we have to go start with the executives and ask them about their business, you need to have something called CXO relevancy, which means you need to know what to say to the CEO versus CTO versus CFO versus CIO. That's called CXO relevancy. And we train that. And if you're not with us, you can spend $3,000 to $5,000 and get some good CXO relevancy training, but you're going to need that. Remember, our course right now on sale is $700. So, but I don't care. I'm just telling you how to get hired. Now, because you're going to be giving presentations in front of large audiences, global audiences, conferences, and you're going to have to give a presentation to get hired in the interview, what you're going to need is follows. You're going to need some presentation skills training. Now, I teach it in our course. Our students get great presentation skills. If you're not with us, don't worry. You can buy like from a Speakeasy or others for $3,000 to $5,000 and get some presentation skills training for the week. Now, because you're going to be in sales, you're going to have to learn how to negotiate. Now, we provide extensive negotiation training based upon the work of the Harvard Negotiation Project and Chris Voss. If you're not with us, you can take either one of those courses or both for about $5,000 and you'll be better at negotiating. Now, because you're going to have to sell stuff to your customers, you're going to have to do a return on investment capital model and prove to the customer about the opportunity cost of spending their money in one place. They can get a better return on investment spending it somewhere else. So if you're not with us, we'll teach you how to do the ROI modeling, but if you're not with us, you can go learn it somewhere else. Now, we do a lot of responses to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs. We train our students how to do that because it's part of the process. If you're not with us, you can get some RFI, RFP, RFQ training. Again, a couple $1,000 for the week. Now, the executive presence is so critical. For example, I could stay here without the executive presence. Hi, my name is Mike. I'm a cloud network engineer. I specialize in BGP. Or, hi, my name is Mike. I'm a cloud architect with a focus and an expertise on BGP. Now, the first person you don't take seriously, the second person you do. And to meet with executives who are going to be there. Now, Pate, what you also have to understand is after we go ask our customers some questions, the customer then, I have to go back and design something. Now, there's no way that one person can design the billion-dollar architectures that I work with. So I need to build a team and manage a team of people that work in the company to put the solution together. And that means leadership skills. So if you're with us, we teach you how to do that. If you're not with us, get an MBA or take some leadership training. Those are the skills that you need to do it. Now, you could take our training. It's our Cloud Architect Career Development Program as a single one-stop shop that does that. And that's what we do. And then there's things that you need to do in labs. For example, doing labs like configuring an S3 bucket is worthless. Setting up an EC2 instance, that's what a cloud admin does. Now, my students do a different set of labs. What are employers concerned about? Do you know how to take the stuff from the network and data center and move it to the cloud? So, of course, my students do about 25 AWS labs and 25 Azure labs, but that's nothing. Everybody does that. Our students do different labs. If you're with us, you're going to do our lab program. If you're not, buy yourself a server. Now, the server is going to cost you about $2,000, but buy the server. If you're with us, the server's access is included for less than the cost of the server. And on this server, I want you to set up server virtualization and build some containers on the server. And when you're done with that, set up the LAMP stack. When you're done with that, set up a file server for NFS. When you're done with that, set up a file server for Windows. When you're done with that, set up an Active Directory server. Build the firewall, build a VPN concentrator, and build your own cloud from scratch. All my students do. And that way, when my students who have no experience have designed and built their own cloud and built their own data centers and done the AWS stuff, and the competition's like, I have a certified solution architect professional and I know how to configure. I don't know how to design, I don't know how to present, and I don't know how to sell. That's what my students. So That's the information that you need to get hired by an AWS, an Azure, a Google, a Cisco, a Microsoft, a bank. Those are the architect skills. So don't confuse architect skills with certification skills. They are so different. So keep that in the back of your mind. That's why we're not focused on certification. Yeah, we get our students to pass the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, the Azure Solution Architect Expert, but that's honestly nothing. Why do we do that? Certifications help somebody get an interview, but nobody hires somebody because of that. So take advantage of the 30% discount and use coupon code potential, and let's get you cloud hired. And if not, you want to do it on your own? That's great. You know how to do it as well, but we'll do it better, faster, and cheaper than anybody else. Hope I answered your question. I was pretty detail-oriented because I want you to really understand the job. Because that's why, when people say, get a SysOps, a DevOps, and a cloud developer, and I say, don't do that because they're not skills that the architects use. In fact, when I have students that have it, I have to strip it from their resume or they won't get hired. Because we have to build the brand. What's the brand you want? And I hope I answered your question. So, Chris, please bring in some other questions. Cloud hired, Pate? Absolutely. Bad weather freak over there in Florida like me, cloud hired. And yes, we have it. Yes, bad weather freak. It was a great interview last night with Dylan. It really was an amazing interview. Here's a great question, Smith. Are programming skills important to be a solution architect? No. So, Smith, I'd like you to ask the question. We design, we present, and we sell. Design, present, and sell. And programming is not part of designing, presenting, and selling. Guess what else we don't do? Terraform. Guess what else we don't do? Touch the API or management console. Guess what else we don't do? Anything that's covered in certification. We design, we present, and sell. Now, we entertain our clients. We take clients to lunch on the corporate credit card. We take our clients for dinner and drinks on the corporate credit card. We take our clients for golf. We tell jokes. We lead. But we design, we present, and sell. And there's no part of selling that's programming. Now, here's the thing. I've been an architect for 25 years, and I don't code. Daniel Bosu, who was on last night, doesn't know how to code. But why did the bank hire him? They don't want a programmer. If they wanted a programmer, they'd hire a programmer. They want an architect. An architect is a system designer. An architect is an executive that interfaces with executive and asks them about their business goals, their business pain points. The architect then builds a team of cloud architects, cloud engineers, cloud security architects, cloud network architects, cloud big data architects, DevOps engineers, maintenance engineers, called SysOps people, software developers, and they bring the team together. The team together with them, they lead the team, they design it, they present it back to the customer, they document it to the customer, they negotiate a business deal, and then they move on. Smith, once we are done the architect, once the customer says, Mike, I'm going to buy this, it's been so nice to meet you, and we go away, and we never deal with them again. So what are we actually designing? So what's an architect design? So let's take it back because people seem to be confused with the technical architect. If I was going to build the 1,000-meter tall hotel, the world's largest hotel or one of them, I would hire an architect. The architect would say the building's going to be 1,000 meters tall. It's going to be on sand, so we need this much density on the ground so the building doesn't sink into the sand like the Burj Al Arab. Sunk a few feet in the sand. Beautiful building, by the way. Then we would say the wind forces are 80 kilometers an hour. So what kind of strength do we need to make sure the building doesn't fall over? We're expecting hurricanes periodically, so what do we have to do? So the architect takes all those requirements and they make a design. Maybe I might tell that if I'm the business hiring the architect, I might say I'd like a waterfall. I'd like a giant water slide. I'd like lush gardens with flowers, and I'd like a cattery with a cat cafe. So the architect puts that design together. Cloud architect does the same thing. They put that design together. And then when it's all done, guess what? The architect hires a construction crew. So Smith, we hire a construction crew. Who's our construction crew? They're called cloud engineers and DevOps engineers to go build our designs. So I hope I explained your things, and that's why programming is not part of the job. And it's not helpful in any way when it comes to designing, presenting, or selling. Great question, Smith. Hope I answered it. Dylan Bell, I got to tell you, thank you so much. So Dylan is this amazing 16-year-old. I think you're in Africa. I don't know which country in Africa you are. Let me know one day. But I got to tell you, 16 years old, working hard, here focused on learning as opposed to doing what other 16-year-olds do. Dylan, I'm honored to know you and meet you. And thank you so much. Exactly, Alonzo. Design, present, and sell. And anytime you start hearing about a technology, is it part of the system design? Am I going to be presenting it to my customers? Am I going to be selling it? And those are the things you need to know, things that help you design, present, and sell. We don't code, we don't configure, we don't touch the tech. In fact, I was an engineer and I was touch the tech every day. I became an architect, and it was the last time I touched the tech 25 years ago because architects don't do it. And I got to tell you, I speak to my architects at Accenture. I speak to my architects at Deloitte. I speak to my architects at Capgemini. I speak to architects that we've hired in Google and Microsoft and big banks. They design, present, and sell. They never touch the tech. And neither have any of the architects I've worked with in the last quarter century. Great question there, Smith. Now, Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. Dylan Bell, if you're going to college, you would love not to and save money, but it's a safe side in case anything happens. The question is, what degree would help you with the cloud architect, enterprise architect? Dylan, I strongly recommend getting a college degree. It is, in my mind, like a reserve parachute. What would I study in college? Business. Now, what did I study? Undergraduate nursing. With my first master's degree in as a nurse practitioner, and my second master's degree is in business. If you go to school and study computers, they're going to teach you to code. And they're going to teach you all these engineering things. Problem is, if you want to be an architect, it's all business stuff, not engineering things. So what I would say is learn the tech on your own, like I did, like my students do with me, and then get something in college that's truly going to build your future, like a business degree. That's what I would do. But I wouldn't skip the college degree. What I look for in life is taking things that make me more agile. Let's agility, career agility. If I've got a business degree and I know how to write, I know how to do sell, I know how to do ROI modeling, I understand business, I know some project management, etc. I've got skills that I can use in a lot of careers. Would it make me a better engineer? Sure. Would it make me a better architect? Sure. Would it make me a better manager? Sure. Will it make me a better chief technology years later? Sure. And Dylan Bell, at 16, if you're working on this, when you're 30, imagine where you're going to be. So definitely try and get yourself a business degree. And then there's that. Now, could you potentially be, and I don't know where you're at, could you get lucky and be a Daniel Bosu at 18 and get a cloud architect job and then have the company pay for your college degree? Sometimes. But I like to have reserve parachutes. For example, I feel like the college degree is very important. So I strongly advise you to finish it. Where are you exactly, Dylan Bell? You said you were in Africa the other day, so I guess I'm curious. Are you in Nigeria? Are you in Cameroon? Are you in South Africa, Ghana, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Gabon, Benin? Always love to know where people are from. We have students all over Africa. I'd say the majority of our students are concentrated in Nigeria, Cameroon, and South Africa, but we've got students all over Africa, and they're amazing, and they do well every day. So I'm just curious where you're from. My family's from Greece, by the way. I think, Chris, let's bring in the next one. She's saying, how often are the live sessions and what's their duration? We have 3 live classes per week, and they are 2 hours per 2 hours each. If you miss them, they're recorded, and you can go back and watch them. I have most of my students that have full-time jobs that are taking this course, and they're getting hired, and they don't have a problem with it. I have some people that have lost their job and are getting hired. I have some people that have never worked in their life and got hired. I've had people that got pregnant and have been raising kids for the last 8 years that have gotten hired. So the answer is, of course, it's feasible to take up the course when you work full-time. So the live sessions are Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, which is 2 p.m. UK time. Thursday at 4 p.m., which is 9 p.m. UK time. And and Friday at 12 p.m., which is 5 p.m. UK time. I have students working full-time that pop into the class for 30 minutes, ask some questions, and then watch the replay, which is totally fine. I've got some students that miss half the classes and watch the replays, which is totally fine. And I've got some students that need 11 months versus 4 months because they need to go slower because of things in their job. I don't care. All I care is that you get hired in the end. We are a cloud hard-based company. We're not a paper-based company. We're not worried about irrelevant things. All I care is exactly this, that you get hired in the end. Robert Welch, good morning. How are you today? And I hope you're doing great. Smith, which of your courses, networking modules that you spoke about, covers BGP? Smith, all of our courses do. If you're in the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, BGP is critical. If you're in the Cloud Engineer Career Development Program, BGP is critical. So we teach it in all of our programs. So what we do, Smith, is we don't worry about the certifications. Look, you'll get certified in our program. That's nothing. Anybody can get you certified. We teach everything that you need to know, Smith. So whether it's BGP, whether it's OSPF, whether it's network load balancers, application load balancer stacking, designing, presenting, and selling, interviewing, negotiating your salary, it's all in there, Smith. All of it. So all of our career courses, the Cloud Architect Career Development Program and the Cloud Engineer Career Development Program, all cover BGP. We cover everything in a single place. I don't want my students going anywhere other than our stuff, as well as the free resources that we actually use. For example, there are required readings in my program. Some of them come from Microsoft. Some of them come from AWS. Some of them come from Cisco. We use those to enhance what we're teaching. So we cover BGP. And not only do we cover BGP, we cover it a lot. We cover it in class, and we do lots of free BGP workshops like we're doing next week. But the kind of level that you need is covered inside of our program. We get heavy into BGP. You'll understand how to load share across equal cost links without getting out over packets. You'll understand how to leak one subnet versus another subnet with route aggregation to make sure your traffic gets through. You'll understand when to change the weight, when to prepend the autonomous systems, when to change the local preference and how to do it, when to use a community and how to match a community, tag a community, etc. When to change the multi-exit discriminator, when and how to change the origin code for, say, incomplete to IGP to EGP, etc., whatever we need things, how to change the router identifier, how to deal with eBGP multi-hop, for example, iBGP pairing and route reflectors and all of it. We cover all of it because how we architect these systems, how we actually design these systems, these are the things that make us architects. And Smith, I'm going to cover the difference between engineering and architecture real quick. Here is network engineering. Router BGP 65312, neighbor 192.168, remote AS 65313, network 10.0.0, mask 255.0.0.0, network 192.168.0.0, aggregate address 192.168.0.0, 255.0.0/8, summary only. That is engineering. And guess what? That's not what we do as engineers. That's what we do as architects. That's what we do as engineers, not architects. Now, what's the architect do, Smith? Here's what you need to do. You're connecting to these three ISPs. Leak this specific subnet on this one. Leak this specific subnet on this one. Leak this one. Or prepend this AS to this. Now, we don't configure it. They design it. So I want you to think about this from perspective. Which is harder? Knowing how something works and how to architect it, or knowing how to configure it? So think of a person who designs the house, who has to think about the roof weight, the wind structure, the electrical that works for the house, the plumbing, and how all those pieces and parts fit together. That is the architect, and that's what we teach in everything. Now, the how to do, that is something totally different. So I hope I answered your question. All of our courses, the Cloud Architect Career Development Program and the Cloud Engineer Career Development Program, all have BGP because it's so critical to get you cloud hired. And Chris, if you're back, you can definitely change the slides. And don't be shy, everybody. We may have a bunch of engineers here today, and we love that, but ask questions. I want to help you get hired and really build your best career. Don't be afraid to ask. Arturo Gonzalez, you're not a great test taker. Do you guys give you strategies for the AWS Cloud Associate? I got to tell you, you could pass that exam, Arturo, in less than 2 days if you desired with the right training. Here's why people aren't good test takers. People read this garbage in a traditional certification course, which is the name of the service and how to configure that service. And then somebody asks you a question where you may need to apply 2% of it, and nobody's ready. We make it for you that those exams are so easy with the right training. So to me, certifications are like, and I don't need sugar, the icing on a cake. You got to have the cake first. And if you try to learn the icing and just cook the icing without knowing how to bake the cake first, in the end, what you get is nothing. So the strategies for this are learn the technologies, the network and the data center technologies. And I'll give you an example. The hardest of these certifications is the Google Professional Cloud Architect. Now, there was a time where I never worked on that cloud, but it didn't mean I didn't know cloud architecture. So what did I do, Arturo? And I'm not a test taker. I bought the Cybex Google Professional Cloud Architect book, read it on a Saturday and Sunday, and on Monday took the exam and was done the exam in 45 minutes because it was so easy. So Arturo, if you know the information, then the exam is absolutely nothing. And that's what you really need to think about. If you know it, it's nothing. So don't waste your time doing certification. Learn the tech. Learn what a network is. Learn what a load balancer is. Learn what block storage is and how it works and how to architect it and why it works. Learn object storage. Learn firewalls and when to use them and when to use an access control list or a host-based firewall. Learn the kind of databases and how to scale the databases. And understand, the problems with block storage and speed and performance-wise, regardless of what it says. Understand the way you could use RAID. Understand the way the pieces and parts fit together, and then get a practice test and pass this exam in a weekend. It's no big deal. The key is it has to be the dog wagging the tail, not the tail wagging the dog. Arturo, what most people do is as follows. They train for the certification, and then they can't do anything with it. I'm telling you, learn it, and then the certification is going to be silly easy. Just learn it first. And it's kind of like this. Could you imagine someone taking their medical boards? By just studying for the medical boards. Maybe they'd pass. It'd be challenging, but maybe they'd pass. But could they practice medicine? The answer is no. So focus first on learning the skill. Once you have the skill, passing the exam is really easy. So that's what I would do. Focus on passing the exam. And, here's the thing. There are so many good things that you can possibly do. Then keep that in your mind. There are so many people right now that can do more. I just want to help you. I want to help you get hired. Cloud architected, cloud promoted, so kind of keep that out of your mind. So how do I want you to do it? Learn the tech, and then take the exams after you learn the tech, and then it'll be silly easy. In the design, present, and sell, what's the design all about? Well, if you meet with a customer, and when you meet with the customer, and they say, I have 40,000 subnets, I have 1 petabyte of data, I have 10,000 remote locations, I have 6 internet service providers, I've got these VPN tunnels, these private lines, I have to connect to these 2,000 extranet partners because they're people that are ours that we need to connect to them for our supply chain application. Our goals are as following: to increase communication and collaboration between people, to increase sales by 3%, and to automate and lay off staff to reduce our costs. That's what the customer's going to tell you. So, Philip, when you get that, then you need to think about what is the tech. Okay, increasing communications and collaboration. I've got some unified communications that can do this. They want to increase sales by 3%. Their top line revenue right now is $38 billion per year. 3% of that is this. In order to get that 3%, what do we need to do about the customer experience of the website? Does it need to load faster? Do they need a new marketing strategy? What's that going to look like? To cut costs, can we automate what? Can we outsource what? So that's what goes into the design. So take the problem, and then you come to the desired end innovative state. And then from there, then you just figure out the tech. So that's the key. You've got to interview the client, figure out what the problem is, and then you've got to design something. Now, what's that solution design? Could be a new website, could be a communications collaboration platform, could be a new supply chain application, could be a new workflow, could be using the cloud, could be going serverless, could be not going serverless, could be using multi-cloud, could be machine learning. We need to figure that out, Philip. That's what we do. We figure that out. Once we figure that out, then we create the design. The design is a picture. The design could be a 300-page document. The design includes the following. Here's the solution to your problem. This is the way the solution is going to work. New revenue streams are going to be coming in this way. Your traffic's going to flow this way. Your availability is going to be 99.999%, which means less than 5 minutes and 15 seconds of downtime per year, because you told me, Mr. Customer, that 1 minute of downtime costs you $26 million. And therefore, we need this hybrid multi-cloud architecture, because if 1 minute costs you $26 million of downtime and you have 30 minutes per year, that obviously is going to cost you a fortune. So if we know that you're dealing with 30 minutes of downtime right now, which is what you could expect to get on 2 availability zones in the cloud, less than an hour a year, and if you know 26 million per minute, and you take 30 times that, that's over $750 million of lost money. And therefore, you've got $750 million of money to go spend on making sure the systems work. And if you've got a $750 million problem and you can come up with a solution for $150 million, you are the hero. So you design the tech. So think of a building architect coming up with blueprints for the building. You come up with the blueprints for the new business, and the technology is your tool for doing the business. So I worked as a management consultant for a little while. I'd ask the customer about their business goals, their business pain points, their business challenges. Then I would examine their people, processes, and technology. I would examine their workflows, how people live. And then I would create a new solution for them called the business architecture. Now, that new business architecture had new workflows, new hires, new technology. It's the same thing. So I hope I answered your question on design. And please feel free to ask questions. I want to help you guys get hired. Arturo Gonzalez, does the program help us connect to recruiters? Of course it does. If not, great, you're looking for a job. So Arturo, we do have about 300 recruiters in the network, and they reach out to me constantly. When they do, I pass those things to my students. But we do so much resume work with our students that our students get between 5 and 15 recruiters that scream to them every day, I want to hire you. And our biggest challenge is our students saying, I'm not ready yet. I still need to be trained for 6 more months. So our program is excellent at that. And here's why, Arturo. There are so few capable architects, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of positions. And how is everybody training for these architect positions? By trying to become an engineer. So they're learning programming and sysops and DevOps, and architects don't do any of this stuff. And they're building a resume which shows that they're an engineer. And here's the thing. If you wanted to buy a cat because your wife likes a cat or you like a cat, and then you went to the pet shop and there was a beautiful golden retriever and you like golden retrievers, but if you want to buy a cat, you don't buy the golden retriever. And Arturo, once we do the branding and makeover, it's like a fire hose of recruiters and hiring managers that start reaching out to our students. Now, just because a recruiter reaches out to you doesn't mean you're ready to be hired. But once you're ready to be hired, we have our students take those things, and that's why our students are doing so good. Look, here's the reality. You should never interview for more than 3 companies and not get hired. I've never interviewed for a company where I didn't get hired, ever. I've interviewed with 5 companies, and guess what? I've been hired by all 5. I like to tell my students that if they've ever interviewed for more than 3 companies and not been hired, there is something wrong. It's competency, or it's attitude, communication skills, etc., or the wrong skill set. So He easily would help you get hired. You'd be in our program, you'd do an assignment, you turn it in, you get feedback from my team. I teach most of the classes. My team helps teach the classes. You can ask questions of us in classes, questions about me in classes. And by doing that, we coach you the entire time. Because we've got group classes, you attend the group classes, you can ask questions, and you got me answering the questions. Or you've got Alonzo from my team who's amazing, or Chow or Leo from my team who are amazing. And for the architect program, I'm the primary instructor. Primary. I occasionally have people come in. For example, I had an application architect with 20 years of experience come in and talk about application architectures because I'm not an application architect. One day we had a director over at AWS come into our class and talked about why he loves our students so much and why he likes to hire people from our program. Because we teach design, present, and sales and not coding and configuration. So I often have guest instructors, but they're to enhance the experience. Because I know networking and cloud, business acumen and leadership. But sometimes we need more. So I'm not past bringing in an expert, someone that knows more about me than something that I do. Because I've got my expertise. Enterprise architecture, network architecture, and system design. But if I want to get my students geeky on application architecture, I'm going to bring in an application architect. One day, I brought in a big data architect who did 20 years of big data stuff. His name is Praveen. He came to me to become a cloud architect. He's now a very serious senior cloud architect over there at JP Morgan Chase. But he was a big data architect for decades, making data lakes and dealing with machine learning of data and data analysis. And that, oh my God, he's incredible. So I had him teach a couple big data classes. Why? I want my students to be the best in the world. And when I have those opportunities, I take advantage of them. But I'm the primary instructor of the program. And during the program, absolutely. Inside of the program, you can ask questions of me in class, etc. Absolutely. That's why I have the classes. Philip Marfo, does this mean as a solution architect, your design would be mainly concerned with cloud solutions, but the solution would cut across all fields of tech? So Philip, we're going to deal with all fields of tech. I'll give you an example. I was working with a hospital and they were looking for me to save money. And I had this beautiful unified communication system designed for them with a beautiful, elegant plan. And in this plan, this beautiful, elegant plan, they didn't necessarily have money. So I sat at the hospital site all day long and I watched what people did. And would you believe it? I noticed that the average nurse was spending 2 hours walking back and forth to an ice machine each day. I'm literally not joking. And at the end of the week, I said to the chief nursing officer, I have an idea for you. And she says, what's this big expensive technology thing going to be, Mike? I said, you need an ice machine. And she starts laughing hysterically. I said, I want you to come watch what these people are doing. I said, the average nurse is walking an extra 2 hours a day to this ice machine. And she says, what? I said, just come. She sat with me, somewhat hiding back in the background where nobody could see us, so we didn't have the Hawthorne effect where people were modifying their technology to see us. And she's like, oh my God, you're right. They walk back and forth to the ice machine. I suggest they get another ice machine. Well, if a hospital has 1,000 nurses and they're paying $50 an hour per nurse, and they're working 2 hours of overtime each day, that means they're spending an extra $150 per nurse for the ice machine. I added another ice machine and I was a hero. Now, at that point, they started to say, Mike, what other inefficiencies do you see in my business? And I said, I see a communications challenge. I see this. And I brought in people, some from my company and some from other companies. And that's the key of the architect. You are a trusted advisor to the company. Some of the stuff you're going to be proposing is cloud. Some of it's not going to be. Your goal is to make that business better, stronger, and faster than it ever was before. And whether your vehicle is technology, an ice machine, or a discussion with somebody, it absolutely doesn't matter. The goal for you is to improve your customer's business performance. So that means, yes, most of it's cloud, but not all of it. You're going to be dealing with networking stuff, application stuff. Technology that you have is going to improve workflows, for example. And I'll give you an example. So about 5 to 10 years ago in the US, the government mandated that organizations were going to go from sloppy paper-based healthcare records to digitized computer systems. Now, I do some consulting as a healthcare architect, and the company would say to me, what's the best electronic health record so we should buy it? And I'd say, you're asking the wrong question. What is the workflow of your nurses? And what is the workflow of your doctors? How can we optimize that workflow? And then let's figure out what technology fits into the equation. So when I consulted the hospitals, I looked at what nurses and doctors and physical therapists did. And I worked with the technology vendors to come up with the best solutions. And my customers profited. The businesses made more money. The quality control went up and everybody did great. Others did not. Others said, the best EMR is this company. The best EMR is this company. It's the coolest past tech. Now, they sold it into healthcare systems. You want to hear something really scary? I mean, truly, truly scary? Here's the scariness. Medical errors. When we had ugly paper records, we're the 5th leading cause of death in the US. And then we took the clients off of the paper records and we digitized it with ridiculous systems. We didn't ask the people, what's your workflow? How do your doctors work? And medical errors went from the 5th leading cause of death on sloppy pieces of paper to the 3rd leading cause of death in technology. Now it's the 4th leading cause of death because COVID exceeded it. But we went from the 5th leading cause of death to the 3rd leading cause of death by dumping technology on our healthcare system, saying, here, buy the tech, trust me, it's good. And that's why we need architects. The architects will make sure that the customer buys what they need and doesn't mess up their workflow and doesn't cause more harm than good. So hope I answered your question for that. And we'll be cutting across everything as a cloud architect. Now, as a solution architect, you're working for a cloud provider and you only know one cloud. As a cloud architect, you can work anywhere and you know all the clouds, including the cloud provider. Now, Philip, I'm going to tell you, 87% of customers use more than one cloud right now, and 97% want to be by the end of the year. So the solution architect career is dead. The cloud architect career, which is what we teach, is alive and will be always alive, and here's why. Cloud architects can work as solution architects, but solution architects need training to work as cloud architects. So our cloud architects design across multiple clouds, which is what the customers want. Hope I answered your question there. What are the prerequisites to start our program? Absolutely zero. I start everybody from the beginning. When people come to me certified, I make them forget the certification knowledge because I have to teach them how to become a cloud architect. So prerequisites are zero. Now, I'll say this. If somebody's been working in tech, like as a network engineer, they can probably get through my program in about 16 weeks. But if they're not, they're new to tech, like half of my students, it'll take, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months to get them hired, but we still do it. So there's absolutely zero prerequisites in our program. We teach everything in our program. Everything from the technology, the job, the design, the resume, the presentation skills, the sales skills, the emotional intelligence skills, the leadership skills, all of those network and data center skills. Those are what we teach in the program. So that by the time you're done with our program, you should have a job. A working cloud architect. That's where you should be. That's what we do. We are not focused on paper. We are not focused on anything. We are focused on improving you, changing your life, and getting you cloud hired. Does our course include certifications? Sure, you'll get the training material for the Azure Solution Architect Expert and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, and that's basic, but I mean, that's nothing. Sure, you'll do that, but I want you to understand, we are an architect training program. Our program has 500 hours of content and then some. Certifications are like 20 hours of it. 500 hours versus 20 hours. And here's why. Certifications include the name of a service and how to configure that service. But, and here's the but, cloud architects don't configure. Ever. We don't code, we don't configure. So yes, we'll get you certified. And we'll say, we'd like you to take one of those two certifications, not both. And here's why. Employers don't want an architect with 1 million certifications. They're looking for a digital transformation specialist. So we'll teach you how to be a digital transformation specialist. We'll help you get the correct 1 or 2 certifications that are based upon your goal career. And then we'll focus on making sure you can do the job, that you know how to pass the interview, that you can sell, design, and you are good, strong, and competent. Because at the end of the day, If you have 1,000 certifications, but you're home and unemployed, what good is it? So yes, we will give you that certification training inside of our course. All you got to do is go take the exams, and these exams are nothing. I mean, literally speaking, they're nothing when you're knowledgeable, etc., etc. Philip, it's always better to be a cloud architect than a solution architect, and here's the difference. A cloud architect can work on any cloud, anywhere, anytime. A solutions architect's like a child. I just know this cloud. And if you're a customer and you require a cloud, you need two clouds. There's no way you can get away with a single cloud, because a single cloud is a single point of failure. I don't care if you use two availability zones in two regions. If the cloud has a control plane failure, if the cloud gets hacked, or if the cloud has a networking failure, the whole cloud goes down. Kind of like AWS had 4 outages last year, and Azure had multiple outages last year, and Google had at least one major outage last year. And these outages weren't isolated to a single data center. The AWS outages were global. Whole system's down. And it's not because AWS isn't a good cloud. They're a great cloud. It's not because they're not smart. They've got some of the best network and data center operators in the world. It's because tech breaks. And for 30 years, well, I've been an architect now for over 25 years. For over 25 years, we've advised our customers, never use a single service provider. And a cloud architect knows how to use all the clouds. So a cloud architect can work as a solution architect. What's the difference, Philip? Cloud architect knows how to do all the clouds. Cloud architect basically knows how to solve customer problems with all the clouds. So cloud architect can do the solutions architect job. Think of the cloud architect as somebody that speaks every language. And the solution architect only knows Amazon language. So it's always better to be a cloud architect, and that's why we train them. Because here's the thing. AWS hires a ton of our students. IBM hires plenty of our students. But our students can work at IBM as a cloud architect, Google as a cloud architect, Azure as a solution architect, AWS as a solution architect. It doesn't matter. Where if we only trained AWS, they couldn't work at Azure, they couldn't work at Google, they couldn't work at IBM, they couldn't work at bank, they couldn't work anywhere other than AWS. So yes, we train you to work everywhere. Wasim, hello, Mike. In the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, everything is there, like networking, certification preparations, or do we have to stuff something outside? It is all there. Everything is in this program. Now, you have to do the work that's in the program. Meaning there's 500 hours of training in the program. There's also some required reading in the program. There is some required reading from Microsoft. There is required reading from Amazon. There is required reading from VMware. There is required, but it's all inside of a program. So there's nothing that you need to do outside of a program. I don't want you doing self-study and finding your own stuff. And here's the reason why. You won't know what to learn. And this is so critical, people. I got people that are asking me, what's in your architect program? And I like to say to them, have you ever been an architect before? And they say, no. Who do you know that's working as an architect? And they say, nobody. I said, and you're going to judge what's in my program based upon a career that you don't know anything about. And they're like, well, but I asked a software developer and they said I need to do this. And they said software developers aren't cloud architects. Don't ask software developers. So everything that we want you to see and know is all in the program. But you have to do the work. What we can't do is basically put it all in there and assume you've done the work. You have to do the work. So everything is in there. The networking is in there. The certification preparation is there. We do like to say get a practice test for the certifications, but there's nothing that we want you to do outside. In fact, Wasim, you'll hear yesterday, we had a student that decided to take my course and disappear for 2 months to do a bogus certification. At the end of the 2 months, he came back to class, and I said to him, okay, now we got to start you from scratch. Back to the beginning. And he's like, what do you mean, Mike? And I said, okay, now that you passed some dumb AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional exam, design this for me. And he laughed. He said, I can't. And I said, do this. And he's like, I can't. I said, so what I need you to do is forget all that garbage that you learned. Go back to zero and start my course at the beginning again. And he did. And now he's hired by one of the world's largest bank. And that's the key. Everything is in there. I don't want you going outside and finding other things. I don't want you reading the wrong stuff. I want you reading the right stuff. We've been architects now for a quarter of a century. Quarter of a century. I've coached others to get jobs now or get promoted for 2 decades. I know exactly what they need. So we use our materials. Remember, I used to teach engineers at Cisco. I taught engineers at Riverstone and Cabletron. I taught engineers in WorldCom, which is now Verizon. I taught engineers at Comcast. So I've been teaching engineers and architects now for 2 decades. I know exactly what they need. So what do we do, Wasim? If you only have a finite amount of time, you can learn a little of everything, or you can learn just what you need to know to be an expert in your job. That's what we teach. Enough to get you from scratch to cloud hired by focusing on only what you need and only what you need. And by doing that, you'll get hired. Great question, Wasim. Jay Prowl, please show the path of a DB admin to change the path to a cloud architect. Okay, there's 2 challenges you need to know. Understand that a DB admin pretty much has nothing to do with cloud architecture, which is totally fine because it looks like you've got some tech administration. And understand that you have now an administrative change in resume, and nobody wants an admin to be an architect. But don't worry, I'm going to teach you exactly what to do. The first thing you need to do is tune what you've done. Most DB admins, I've done this Python code, I've configured this on Oracle, I've configured this, I've configured this, I've configured this. What do architects do? 0 configuration. We design, present, and sell. What is our focus as a job? Digital transformation. So what I need you to do is following. First, change your brand. If you've got any acronyms on your resume, get rid of them. If you've got 18 certifications, we will keep 1 or 2, and we're going to have to get rid of the rest because I need you to look like an architect, not an engineer. So now there's that. Now I need you to go through your resume, your LinkedIn profile. I've worked on this database. Get rid of it. Now maybe you implemented a new Mongo database for a NoSQL database. Now keep thinking this. Now if you implemented a Mongo database because you needed unlimited scalability or flexibility and schema, what was the impact of that Mongo database that you had to the business? Did it increase sales? Did it increase defects? What was the financial or performance impact? That's what you need to tease out of what you've done. So not what you did tech-wise, but as the impact, business impact of what you've done. Now, you said you come from a database world. Now, you got to remember, the cloud architect is really a network and data center architect. And here's why. What do? We built a plan to take that stuff from the network and data center to the cloud. So the first things that you're going to need to learn first are going to be learning networking, data centers, design, and business skills. So we're going to cover all those skills. And we teach all of this in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. But if you want to do what I need, you'll know how. You need to learn BGP completely. So make sure you understand BGP, how to design it, how to architect it, not how to configure it. Then, what else do you need to learn? Interior gateway protocols such as OSPF, because we're going to be dealing with that in the premises environment connecting to the cloud. Now, you're going to be dealing with a wide area network, which means you need to understand and learn about IPsec tunnels, SSL-based VPNs, private lines, Ethernet private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, for example. Now, we're going to be dealing with some other cool WAN technologies, such as the software-defined networking and SASE, and you need to understand that. Now, we're going to be dealing with some layer 2 technologies, such as switching, so you need to understand VLANs, VLAN tagging, and VLAN trunking. Now, whenever we got involved in these layer 2 Ethernet technologies, we have loops, which are a problem, so you have to learn spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, etc. And after that, what else do you need to know? You'll need to know ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP. Now we deal with NAT. And NAT is not just connecting to the internet like they would teach in the basic advanced networking or certified solution architect professional. We're going to be using NAT for lots of reasons. Companies buy another company, VPC peering, etc. So you're going to really need to learn NAT. One-to-one NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT, NAT overload, all those kind of things. Now that covers most of the networking things. Now, after that, here's what we do. Next, you need to learn the data center technologies, which is servers and server virtualizations and container orchestration and block storage, object storage, and file storage. And not the silly depth that they cover in the Certified Solution Architect Professional. That doesn't even begin to cover it. I mean, I'm saying go to Delhi, I'm saying read 1,000 pages of block storage, object storage, file storage, unless you're in our program, in which case we talk about it and teach it in our program. Next, now you do have a database background, so I'm going to assume you know how to architect and design your databases, how to scale them, how to add caching, how to add queuing, how to put RAID replicas, etc., how to scale. And optimizing the kind of storage to optimize the performance, that's where you're going to need to go. Now you're going to need to learn next generation firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems, because nobody's going to be using Shield or WAF as the kind of goes to security system. You're going to need to know what to use and how to do it, at least at the enterprise level. Now, those are the tech things that you need to learn. Now, remember, JPRL, we design, present, and sell. We don't configure, which means you need to be CXO relevant, meaning you need to know what to say to the CEO, CFO, CTO. You need to understand system designer, how to design it, and how to document it, and how to present it. You need to be understand because you're going to be leading teams of cloud engineers, upwards of 40 or 50 people, so you must understand that. Next, you're going to be selling, so you're going to have to get some sales training. You're going to be doing some ROI modeling to show the customer that the cost of the solution is more than mitigated by the business value due, and that you can show them the opportunity cost is greater by spending the money in your investment versus some other investment. You have to know how to do that. You're going to be negotiating deals upwards of $1 billion. You're going to need some negotiation skills. You're going to be presenting at industry conferences, writing and responding to RFIs, RFPs, and RFQs. Those are the things you need to learn to become a cloud architect. You can get it all in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. You can get some of these skills in an MBA and some of these skills in leadership program. There's lots of ways to do it. Our program's better, faster, and cheaper, but those are what you need to do. So you need to go from hands-on doing to a job where you ask lots of questions, design, present, and sell. And we can get you there like we get students every day hired, but that's the process. Great question, Jay Pro. How long do you need to learn to be a cloud architect and get hired? On your own, I'll tell you it'll take you 2 to 3 years. With us, it'll take you about 8 to 10 months if you've never worked in tech in your life. And the reason is we know exactly what you need to know. And we give you exactly what you need to know, only what you need to know, and we remove out all the noise. So plus we've got a network of students that help each other out. We've got experience and context everywhere. Lots of times when our students get hired, they like to tell their friends, hey, join me here. I even had somebody get hired by a bank, and they prepped another student who got hired at the same bank just because they were helping each other out. And that's what we do. We've got a community. And it's a great question, but I'd say about 8 to 10 months for the average person. But your mileage may vary whether you have more time or less time to study. Smith, the live session is the difference between the live program and the non-live program. Exactly. In the live program, you can ask questions in class. In the non-live version, you watch replays of the class. But that's the only reason. Now, I got to tell you, our students in the live program do exceptionally well. And here's the reason why. They go to class. I can see them in class. And I can talk to them in class. And I can say to them, Yoo-hoo, you look ready to me. This recruiter wants something, go talk to them. I can do that in class for people that I know. I can't do that for people that I don't know. So I will tell you, the results of the live class are extremely good. I'm also going to tell you there's not everybody that can attend our classes, and we've had students that couldn't attend our classes that bought the live version and still got hired by doing our work. Plenty of them. We decided to take that same course without the live options because it would be easier on my team and offered it at half price. To really help those that could potentially not afford our training, we tried to come up with a cheaper approach. Live training is best, but the non-live is still exceptionally good, and it will be helpful. Again, our focus is cloud hired, cloud hired, cloud hired, cloud hired, cloud hired. And we want to do it at the cheapest possible cost for our students, and that's why we came up with the non-live version. And that's the main difference. Live classes versus non-live classes. That is the difference. Everything else is identical. We would never sell a substandard program when we're trying to reduce the cost. That's not who we are. But the live class is better because you get to interact with people in class. The non-live version, you got to use Slack after class, which is still good. There's still support, but the live version, you're in class, you can actually ask a question. I like that. I like to get to know people. And that when a recruiter calls me and they says, hey, I need somebody, I can say, I know Smith. I've met them. They're good. They're smart. They're in my course. I can't say that if I don't know you, but in any case, you'll be good and smart and capable in either case. I just need cloud hired, and Smith will do everything we can, no matter what course you're in, to get you cloud hired. So I hope I answered your question there. Nelson, how do you take notes in your program? I'm kind of drowning in the material and finds you're taking notes. Watch the course 2-3 times, Nelson. You can watch as many times as you need. There's no rush. You can redo it and redo it and redo it. That's what I would do. But here's the thing, Nelson. The biggest thing that a cloud architect does is has communication skills and listening skills. Meaning, we're not engineers. Nobody hands us a piece of paper that says, build this, please. We got to go ask the customers questions, and we only have one time to ask that question. So, Nelson, I got to tell you, practice, practice, practice. Practice getting the information as fast as you can, because that's our job. Might only get 5 minutes with the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, if you're lucky. And in those 5 minutes, you need to know everything you can about their business. So get used to it. It's intentionally hard. I do it that way for a reason. I'm training you to do the exact job. So just practice, practice, and more practice. But it's a good question. Practice, practice, and practice some more. And you'll get there, Nelson. And when you do, guess what? The world's your oyster. So nothing good comes easy. I make it feel exactly like the real job. Here's why. We're doing the real job in my course, and it's job training. So I'll also say this, Nelson, the people that generally take my course are generally lost for the first 4 weeks or so. And by the time they get into the 4th week to the 12th week, they seem that's when they start to really get it. And then after about 12 weeks, that's when my students get really capable, and it just builds. So give yourself some time too. But you'll do well. Drinking from the fire hose. It's the only way, but we'll get you there, and you'll do fantastic, Nelson. Great question. And then, Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. Philip asked the perfect question. This is a job of design, present, and sell. And even if you work in a post-sales place like a design, you still design, present, and sell. And who's who you're going to be selling to. So now you're a cloud architect, enterprise architect, solution architect, who cares? And you work for a bank. Now the bank's got business problems, right? The bank's got solutions they want to do. Maybe the bank wants a new customer service offering to improve customer experience. Maybe the bank wants a new website. Maybe the bank has an issue with SEC compliance, etc. So what do you do as a cloud architect working in a bank? Well, you interview the executives in the bank and you ask them, what are your business challenges? What are your pain points and what are your goals? And then when you work for the customer, you're going to be asking, going from desk to desk, what do you need help with? What do you need help with? What's your pain points? What's your challenges? And then you're going to go back. You're going to examine the systems. You're going to lead a team inside the company, figure out what kind of applications do what the network looks like, what the data centers look like, what the cloud environments look like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're going to collaborate with department heads from every part of the business and create a design to solve the business problems. Now you're done. You're going to talk to AWS, you're going to talk to Azure, you're going to talk to Google, Microsoft, IBM, Red Hat, you're going to talk to all of them. You're also going to be consulting and talking to Palo Alto and Fortinet and Cisco and Checkpoint for your security things. All that stuff you're going to be doing. And then you're going to document it, right? Now you're going to come up with a solution which may cost $200 million easily. Now you got to go present it to the executives in your company and convince them to adopt your design for the new technology so you're still selling it. Now, you're also going to be, when you get a project like this, you're going to have to convince the department heads to want to work with you so you're still selling. So no matter what it is, you're designing, presenting, and selling. Now, if you're the cloud provider, you ask the customer about their business pain points, their business goals, and business challenges. You then bring in an army of cloud engineers that work for you to baseline the current systems. You collaborate with all your team to help design a solution, and then you present it and sell it back to the customer. Post-sales, you work with the customer. You interview the same executives. You interview the department heads. You interview the other tech stuff. You create a design, and again, you have to present it to the CIO, the CTO, potentially the CEO, and say, Here's why you need my technology to improve the business. So it's always, always, always a design, present, and sell job. It's just in the bank, you don't get paid commission. In a bank, you get a bonus based upon how your impact affected the company's financial performance and the company's business performance. So now you understand. Same job, design, present, and sell, is just where you're at. Key is architects are not hands-on people. They are leaders with technical skill. Now, Philip, I'm also going to say this. I tell my students that the architect job is 50% technical and 50% executive. Now, I got to tell you this, when my students get hired, they're like, Mike, you lied to me. It's been a year. All I've done is bought lunches for people, told jokes for people, presented at conferences and writing. I haven't done any tech stuff. Isn't there any tech stuff here? And I say, there will be times where you do get technical. Brandon, you're probably right. The job is 80% executive and 20% technical. But here's the thing. I have to make my people super technical so they get hired and pass the interview. So your technical acumen and your knowledge of how stuff works and how to design it is very, very critical. But Philip, the design, present, and sales skills are much more critical for these roles. So critical, so critical, so critical. Here's the thing. The people that do not have these skills, I got to promise you, they don't get hired. And when we get people that come from a hard engineering background, if they don't study these leadership skills, they get fired real fast. Because they walk into the room with an executive, they start talking acronyms, they get fired, and the replacement thanks them. So here's the key. Design, present, and sell. Learn those skills, and you will be good always. Now, there's a lot that goes into design. It's deeply technical, but it's different technical. It's not how to configure something by clicking these 4 buttons. It's what to use, when to use it, and how to scale it. Everything breaks at scale. So when you go from my cat Cindy's website, where she got photos of the cat, and you bring that to something that gets 10 million hits a day, that's when your technology changes. And that's when the scalability, and that's where you need good architects. So that's why we architects typically work in bigger companies. Design, present, and sell. Great question, Philip. And I see the thing is up there. I should remind you right now, we have 30% off discount code so you can reach your full potential. Reach your potential, get cloud hired. Catherine, how many hours do your successful students dedicate to their studies? Does it hurt if you have a 9-to-5 job? Catherine, I've got lots of students that have 9-to-5 jobs. How many hours do students dedicate to their studies? However many it takes. And I'm not trying to give you a silly answer, but what I can do in 2 hours, somebody else might do in 30 minutes. What I can do in 2 hours, somebody else might take a week. I don't know the speed that you learn. I will tell you yesterday that Daniel, who's a fine young man with 0 work experience or college degrees, had said that he studies approximately 3 to 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and no time during the weekend. And he got through my program in about 8 months. Now, 3 of the months were wasted, so I say he did in 5 months. I've also had Catherine people do it in my program that literally put 10 hours a day into it. I had one guy, I think he put 16 hours a day into it, and he was hired inside of 3 weeks. That is not typical. I don't want to make that clear. So how many hours does it take? How many hours does it take for you to learn? And here's the thing. We don't kick anybody out at 16 weeks and say, you're done. We hold you in the program for upwards a year or until you're hired. So if you can put in 10 hours a week, it's going to take you longer than if you can put in 20 hours a week. Do you think we care? We don't. 20 hours a week, you're probably out of my program and hired in 6 months. 15 hours a week is probably 9 months. Guess what? You're still able to stay in the program. So how many hours does it take? How many hours it takes you to be successful? I don't know your learning speed. But I would say 2 hours a day is probably something good, at least 5 days a week. And if you could do 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, or the equivalent of 15 hours a week, I think you'd get through really well and do great. But you have to do the work. But when you do the work, morning, afternoon, evening, in a sauna, I don't care. All I care is that you get through. Most of our students have a full-time job. Most of our students get cloud hired. You can see some of the cloud hired videos. We do it every single day. We are infatuated with getting cloud hired, cloud hired, cloud hired. and you would do well if you desire the program. Smith, the live classes are 3 days per week, and they're completely recorded. Each class is 2 hours. Gilbert, good questions. How do you respond to recruiters when you're not ready for an interview? And here's the thing. The worst thing you can do is go on an interview when, what do you call it? The last thing you could do is go on an interview when you're not ready, because here's what happens. You go on the interview, the employer interviews you, and they say, oh, you don't know anything. So they decide to be nice and say, come back when you have more experience. Come back when you have more experience, or you need experience is a proxy for saying, we don't like you. So I'm not going to say that you're there, Gilbert. I'm just saying we don't want you to get a response of come back when you have more experience. Here's what that means. I don't have time to interview anybody, and neither does any hiring manager. So if we interview someone, we are willing to hire them. Now, when they come in on an interview with zero experience, if they know what they're doing, they're hired, cloud hired. If they don't, they're like, come back when you have more experience. It's better than saying, sorry, you're not good enough. And that's what experience means. So Gilbert, you're very smart. I tell my students to do the following. Build their LinkedIn portfolio, build their resume, and they get hammered by recruiters, 5 to 15 each day that are trying to bring them in. Tell them, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'm so honored to hear from you today. I'm currently very satisfied in my current position, and I'm not looking to make a change right now. But please keep in contact with me because things change. And perhaps maybe 6 months from now, I'd like to talk to you. Build a network of your recruiters. And then when you're ready, you got them all waiting for you. And that's the key. You're very astute. Very, very astute. Go when you're ready. So, I mean, I wouldn't go compete in mixed martial arts with the world's greatest martial artist if I didn't know martial arts. It's not going to end well. And you're very smart, Gilbert. Do not go in an interview until you're ready. So that's how you do it. That's how you tell the recruiters. And I think you're going to do great. Robert Welch, he has 4 recruiters to follow up with just this morning. He's one of my students. He's absolutely fantastic. Philip, our lessons are live Zoom sessions, recorded sessions, and reading, and labs. All of it. Now, here's the thing. Most cloud architects are remote, but not remote. So, for example, I lived in Palm Beach, Florida, because I felt like it. There's no business in Palm Beach, Florida worth talking about that a cloud architect would do. But we've got warm weather and palm trees and the beautiful beaches. So that meant for me that I had to work remotely. So what did my life look like as an architect? Well, I'd leave my house in Palm Beach, give a speech in Washington, D.C., go to San Jose, California, give a speech, go to London, give a speech, and go to Dubai and give a speech. And at the super high levels, Philip, you're always going to be traveling, and they're all going to be remote. Because once you reach a certain point, they want to push you all over the world. Now, having said all of that, as a cloud architect, you still need to interact with your client. Kind of keep that in your mind. Still have to interact with the client. And that means you have to see them face to face. So picture two different situations. A cloud architect that lives in London or New York City. They can actually go to the office. And in London, there's enough customers that somebody that lives in London may travel 20% of the time. Keep that in the back of your mind. And they're local. So architect jobs are better when you're not remote. They're still remote jobs. I got asked recently to support a client in Japan. I'm not joking. I almost took a very senior leadership with a hybrid cloud company, like a senior director position, and it was all remote. But there's that. Now in Ghana, and I do a tremendous amount of work, volunteer work, relief work, and I have lots of students in sub-Saharan Africa. And so there's that. There's less remote work in Ghana than there might be in, say, Nigeria, or, say, Cape Town, South Africa, or even Cameroon right now, because there's less tech investment in Ghana right now, but that doesn't mean there won't be. I will say in Ghana, you're probably better off as a cloud engineer And that's one of the reasons we have a cloud engineering program. Because imagine that this was my Philip. And you can still be an architect, and I'm not telling you not to. I'm just giving you the reality of the situation. Today, I design a cloud architecture. I design it, present it, and sell it, and it's awesome. Now it needs to be built. I can hire a cloud engineer that's $60 an hour or $80 an hour in San Jose, California. I can hire somebody in India or Africa for less, who may do the job just as well, if not better, and is really excited and motivated to work. So I think right now in Ghana, cloud engineering skills are a little bit more valuable than cloud architect skills. I think as we see more tech and economic development in Africa, and trust me, I work very hard on this, and this is a very important cause to me. I think we're going to see the need for more critical cloud architects in Africa as well. And also people in Africa can also travel as cloud architects because they're incredibly in demand and get visas as well. And I've got lots and lots of students. To put it into context, Philip, I have over 200 Nigerian students. I have over 200 Cameroonian students. I have plenty of wonderful students from Ghana, plenty of wonderful students from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Benin, Gabon, Uganda, Tanzania, Morocco, Ethiopia, South Africa, you name it, I got it. And I'm seeing so much incredible economic and technological development going on in Africa, and I see so many things going on in their future. But right now, I got to tell you, I believe in my heart there is much more technology and potential available in Ghana as a cloud engineer. Now, if you were in Egypt, it would be different because it's kind of in that Middle East region, which is a lot of work. And if you're willing to travel, yeah. We're willing to relocate, yes. But, you know, you could be a cloud architect there, and I'd love to work with you. It'll be a lot harder to get hired there than it will be in other places. And if we train you as an architect there, I'd want you to be a hybrid architect and actually learn how to do some of the hands-on stuff, like there's more engineering and architecture stuff. And that way, you'd have more options. We wouldn't say that if you were in London or New York City, but I just want to know, Philip, no matter what you do, you're hired. So we occasionally have to adapt to the markets, and that's what I would suggest. We love working with Africa. I'm also part of Cloud Heroes Africa. My good friend Alphonse Chang runs it. And 50 of my students even volunteer there in sub-Saharan Africa to teach cloud computing because it means so much to us. And please take advantage of the free bootcamp this week, Philip. YouTube user. I'm not really sure which role is best for me. There's some sort of guidance or help person with no IT background. Here's a question for you. What do you like doing? That's what it matters. What do you like doing? If you like to design, present, and sell, you want to be an architect. If you like to code and configure, and you're interested in Linux and Python and Terraform, you desire to be a cloud engineer. If you are a good software developer and you like programming, be a software developer. If you are a great software developer but don't enjoy software development but like operations related to it, there's DevOps and automation. There's that. So YouTube user, it has to determine on what do you like? What would you like to do? Nobody can tell you based upon your background, and it has nothing to do with your background. Yesterday you saw I got a 21-year-old, and the reason I said 21-year-old is easy if you're 40. Easy. But we had a 21-year-old with zero background in the cloud, zero tech degrees, zero any degrees. He still got hired as a cloud architect. And that's the thing. So what do you want to be? That's the question. Now, tomorrow I'll hold how to get your first cloud architect job up, and I suggest you attend, and I'll tell you exactly what the cloud architect job is. And you'll get to see if that's interesting to you. And if it's interesting, great. Great. But here's the thing. You got to do what you love. Mark Twain said it, the author, and I haven't read many nonfiction books, even though I used to read 3 nonfiction books a week, and I've never read a fiction book in my life, ever. But I remember Tom Sawyer, who wrote Huck Finn, etc., or what do you call it? Mark Twain, who wrote Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, or whatever the books were. He did say, which I loved, make your vacation your vocation, and you'll never work a day in your life. And guess what? I took my passion, which was tech, turned it into my job, and I've never worked since. Yeah, sure, I put in 68 hours a week for many years, but I never worked because it was my love. So I ask you, what do you enjoy doing? And then we can help you. Gee, just recently started the Cloud Architect course. How would you recommend navigating the weekly recording? Should you start from the beginning and watch everything? I would, G. You got hundreds of classes to watch. The more of them you watch, the more likely you're going to be successful. So I would do lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, lesson 5. And you're going to be doing, but do the course content first. Do a course content thing and watch a class. Another course content thing and watch another class. Another content thing, watch a class. Content thing, turn to the assignment, watch a class. But I would do everything in that program, 100% of it. And you'll be successful. We put lots of stuff in there because we want you to have access to everything. Why do we keep adding new classes? Because in the old classes, one day there was a hiring manager from, for example, come in, for example, and another day we had somebody else coming in. But we don't want you to watch all the course recordings before doing the course content. Like I said, do them together. Together. That's specifically what we want you to talk about. Do both. But yes, those class recordings are where we teach the tech. And those class recordings that make the students present them back. And they teach you how to present the tech, et cetera, et cetera. Ashwin Kumar, are there any specific course materials domain to be a cloud architect? Yes. We have the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That is all the course materials you need, 100% in a single spot. Now, I did give you today the ways you could do it on your own, but I told you exactly what it would take. But there's a very specific course material package. It's the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. One program, and that's all you need, Ashwini. Smith, when you sign up, we do not do cohorts. We do not do batches, ever. The second you sign up, you start going training. I am against batches in every single way. I come from medicine and martial arts. And in medicine, you've got residents, third, fourth, first, interns all together. When you teach a martial arts class, you got a black belt, a brown belt, a red belt, etc. They're all together. And here's the reason why. Smith, so today, let's say I had a class today. I don't because of the boot camp. Today, I'm going to be doing a design. I've got students in the program that are there for 6 months, and they're going to be the lead architects when I give them the design. I've got students that have been there for 2 months that are going to help the lead architects, and I've got students, Smith, that just signed up this morning, and they're going to be in class. Now, here's what's going to happen. In class, the lead architects will be the majority of the people that do most of the work. The mid-tier architects will be helping them, and the brand new people will observe, watch, and learn. Those senior architects are hired. All kinds, congratulations, cloud hired, we're all happy. Next, junior people become senior people, and the people that we're watching are now helping the senior people. Now they're learning and getting hands-on, learning a lot from the senior people, working together. Senior people get hired, and now they're the new senior people until they get hired. I don't do batches for the following reasons. If I run batches, I'd have to charge $20,000 to $50,000 for this course. I'd have to run ads and kick everybody out at 16 weeks and say, you're done. Whether you're hired or not, I don't care, and that's not me. So by not running batches, Smith, you can take my program. You can join anytime you want, and you can be there for 10 months, 11 months until you're hired. If I ran batches, I couldn't do that. I'd be kicking people out at the end of their 16 weeks, and they'd be unemployable. Instead, I keep you in my program until you're hired. I had a student that had to go to Ethiopia for 3 months and came back to my program. It's okay. We don't care. She's getting hired. I had a student. She had a doctorate in cybersecurity. Did the first 2 weeks of the program, disappeared, came back 6 months later and said, Mike, I wasted my opportunity. Can I come back? And I said, of course you can. No charge. Why? Because she was in our program. And that's the key. I let you stay in the program until you're hired or a year passes, which is the max. But nobody needs a year to get hired. So when you sign up, you are instantly going to get an email. Welcome to Go Cloud Careers. There's going to be program assignments for you to do, weekly group coaching calls for you to do, and predominantly do the course, but make sure you do those weekly group coaching calls as well. And when you're done, you'll be cloud hired. At least if you do all the work, you should be cloud hired. And that's the key for us. So no cohorts, no batches. We are not in the business of running big, expensive ads and charging people exorbitant amounts of money and saying, hey, your class is done. Bye. We run no batches. We let you join anytime. We let you work with people and come better every day. That's why we're very different. We have to work and make sure you get better every day. Sorry, something's funny with going with my mouse, so we just plug it in just in case. Can you pay installments? Of course you can pay in installments. The payment plan divides it into 3 installments, and they're 3 equal cost payments, once per 30 days. How does it work, Samuel? You do the following. You click on the link that my team is going to provide in the chat box right now. And you click on the link, it's going to show you the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and it's going to say 999. What you do is inside of that box where it says 999, click that box, and it's going to drop down a payment plan option, which is 3x350. 3 times $350. Click that and click purchase. Then you're going to get to another screen. And on the next screen, it's going to do something where it says, have a coupon. In that coupon, guess what's going to happen? You enter the coupon code. And that coupon code, which we're running until Sunday, potential will knock off 30% off of every single payment or single payment that you have. And it will drop it to just about $245 right now. And that's how the payment plan works. And if you've got more questions, I'd love to answer it. Philip, would your course have one who wants to be in cybersecurity? Of course it does. I've got lots of cybersecurity people in my program. I had one, his name was Delroy Bat. He was in my program for 3 weeks before he got his first cybersecurity job. He just got and now he has incredible options for them. So of course, most of my people end up with jobs either as generic cloud architects, cloud network architects, or cloud security architects, because we train all 3 heavily. Every one of our students gets heavy duty security training, CISSP level and above. Now our goal is not certification, but we've got to give that as minimum level of training, and that's what our students get. So of course, we got lots of people jobs in cybersecurity, lots of them. Okay, so let's address the last few things. Please join us this afternoon for day 2 of the Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp starting in June. Please join us. Started yesterday, still catch day 1, and watch day 2. It's going to be party time, party time, party time. We're going to get techie and geeky, and I love it. Next, join me tomorrow on the completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. I'll tell you everything about the job, what employers desire, what needs to be on your resume, what certifications help your resume, which certifications hurt your resume, what employers want to know about you, what they need to see on the interview, what they desire in the perfect employee. We'll teach you everything you need to know so you know what to learn to get hired. With us or without us. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. And join us. Next week, we're going to run some free networking and BGP training. We'll pop the link for that. Register in the chat box in the description. We want to do everything we can to get your cloud hired. So, everybody, I hope you had fun. Please hit the like and subscribe and hit the bell button so you get informed of all the cool stuff we do to help you in your career. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Tell a friend. Invite some friends to our free boot camp this week. Share the wealth. We know that not everybody can afford full training, and that's why we do it completely free. So please join us this afternoon in the boot camp, and please sign up for the subnetting boot camp. Anything we can do with Go Cloud Careers to get you cloud hired, we're doing it because we want you all cloud hired. Join us for the second day of the boot camp. Have a wonderful day. And this is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I wish you all the best in your careers. Let's get cloud hired or cloud promoted, everybody. Take care and have a wonderful day.